Welcome everybody to a very special interim episode of the Old World Behemoths podcast. My name is Alasdair. I recognise in our last full episode, we did not explain to you why we are behemoths, and it was because we were so caught up with some of the lovely community that are around us and thinking of the sorts of behemoths that they could be. But I am a behemoth these days. I am a behemoth because I brought 600-point unit of witches with a cauldron of blood to the last tournament that we went to, and if that doesn't qualify as a behemoth, I don't know what does. With me this evening, I just have Alex. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Alasdair.
Why are you a behemoth, Alex, right now?
I think I might hold the best win streak record for the Great Unclean One, perhaps globally. So maybe that's why I'm a behemoth. Maybe I cheated. Who knows?
Well, let's not tell the boys and girls at home the sordid details that we discovered recently around your said win streak. But we're not here to talk about that tonight. We're giving you a special short interim episode, and I promise it will be short. Though I have made that promise in the past, and it hasn't ultimately gotten there, but it will be. We wanted to talk a little bit about the event that we've got coming up in just 12 days' time. This is the first event that the Old World Behemoths will be hosting as a little bit of as an organized group, but certainly for all of us who are previous tournament organizers, the first one probably that we've had anything to do with organizationally in more than a decade, Alex?
More than 10 years.
Definitely. So it's very exciting for us, and we're super keen to see how we go on the day. We have just had a bunch of list confirmations, and we've had all of our fabulous teams sending through their narratives, because if you didn't know, our first event is narrative-based doubles. So things are a little different. We'll talk a little bit about why they're different. We've spoken to it on other podcasts, but I wanted to take a little time to talk to why the event is a little bit different to conventional events, particularly conventional match play events that we've seen certainly around the place. But then also to give you a little bit of a taste of both the quality of the narrative submissions that we've had going through, but also what to expect from a narrative element for the event. Now, our players hopefully are watching. They're certainly going to get a link to watch after, but they haven't been given any more information than you're going to see tonight. They will get a little bit more over the course of the next 2 weeks, but tonight is more just a general, let's set the scene, do a little bit of hyping for our fabulous event that we've got coming up, that we're busy preparing for. Alex's printers have not stopped printing in how long would you say, Alex?
At least a week.
At least a week.
Mostly because, not to give much away, but the size of the things that we're printing, we're very ambitious.
We're setting expectations high is what you should take away from this. But needless to say, we're really excited to share this with you, to share it with the community, and give you a bit of a taste and a feeling of the event to come. Before we do anything else, though, I'm just going to come right over here so I don't repeat the mistake I made earlier. Just a quick quick shout out and thank you to our patrons. If you'd like to become a patron of the pod, you can, of course, find the links in the show notes. If you're listening on a podcast medium, as we often forget, there are people who listen to us for the pleasure of our deep, husky voices on a podcast medium. You'll be able to find that in the description as well. But thank you, Death 1942, Ghost, Joshua 6, Silver Dave, Jeff, and Gomer. You help us make sure that we can keep producing content, which we find interesting. We hope you do too. But it certainly leads us to being able to run the sorts of events that we've got coming up as well. Big shout out here as well to 25 Creative for a lot of our design work for the pod and our brand, and also to a special guest shout out to Exiles Gaming Club, where the event is actually being hosted in a couple of weeks' time. Now, Alex, I'm gonna cue in some dramatic royalty-free music in a second. But before I do that, to underlay what I'm going to talk to give a little bit of a taste of the story behind our event, is there anything you want to mention? Anything you want to call out?
I think this whole process has been a new experience for us, because as much as we've been in the past organizing events, again, we joke about it 10 years ago, but 10 years ago, we didn't organize narrative events,
No, we did not.
but we've been speaking so much about why narrative is important. And in fact, what we would even define to be an event these days. And because we're the big proponents of it being how we want to play Warhammer versus what generally war games are expected, is it cutthroat, is it not, etc. We've gone about, again, using the 3D printer to do the 30-hour prints for one single piece at high quality to make sure that we would want to turn up on the day and have a good experience. So we really hope that all of this effort pans out. God only knows, it could be a disaster in the next 24 hours when my house catches on fire.
It is absolutely not going to be that.
Touching
all the wooden surfaces of my new house, but yeah.
Yes, that's right. But I think it's been a rewarding thing to do, because I know that when we set out to do this, doubles is something that we've been talking about for a long time, and we were happy to be the first ones to have a run at it. Not in the country, I should add, not in the country, but within Sydney, and we've got 10 teams registered now. We're playing on the day, which is a great turnout. We were talking about maybe getting 4 to 6 teams turning around and having a go. We were expecting, a handful of people to submit narratives and not read the players pack. In fact, there's really only one team that didn't submit any narrative and images. So I'm happy and motivated even more now to make sure that the little things go right. So we might have more.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
It's one just to call out or follow up. One of the things that you did say, the quality of narrative submissions that we've received it's totally blown me out of the water. I asked for a little bit of scene setting, expecting that people would sort of approach this thinking, I want a justification, I want a bit of story and feeling and flavor. What we've received are some truly outstanding pieces of short form narrative, some really amazing images that have either been sourced or generated, or, I mean, God forbid someone's an artist these days and puts them together. I'm not sure if anyone did, but we've certainly received such a high quality of submission that it has really enhanced how this will play and the flavor of this. So,
yeah,
let me.
One quick point on that. I will admit that I did put one of the submissions as the AI checker. We won't say which one. And I had to check myself, because it came back as like 3% AI generated, 97% human. And I went, wow, if this person has gone to this level of effort and has not used ChatGPT, which, to be fair, should be the expected baseline today.
It was also something that I absolutely said that they should and can do.
They should. They absolutely should. But I thought, I'll just go have a look.
Okay.
I'll just check. And then when they came back and said, no, it's human generated, I went, oh, my lord, this person put more effort into this than I've done printing the terrain. So I need to do, we need to have a retrospective of what's going into it. So the point of that was, sorry to the person. They don't know who they are, but I'm apologizing generally and holistically to that. But I haven't done it since. I haven't done it since. My lack of faith. And thus was not proven to be correct. So I was chastised by the AI checker to trust in the submissions.
I mean, I would hope that my chastisement of you for wondering why you did it in the first place
disappointment
was also a factor in this. But nonetheless, a big shout out to everyone who is coming to the event, who's made such an effort. as well. It's been really fabulous to see. There's going to be a lot that we're leaning into around these over the next 2 weeks. We'll share those with the community. We'll share those first with the players. But then on the day, we have some really interesting things planned based on what we've already received to really get the most out of it. So let's get into our scene setting. Let's talk a little bit around the event. I've got a preamble that I'm going to put my best big boy voice on to talk you through. And I'm going to ask that you just totally ignore this section of my camera while I do this, so that you're not distracted and thinking about. For anyone who's on the podcast medium, I have a giant giraffe, bendy neck giraffe, one of my favorite paintings. Has been hanging in the kids' room, now is in the office since we moved. Anyway, let's get into it before we lose anyone for good. All right. Here is where I will cue said royalty-free, ominous event music. Far from the beaten roads and broken kingdoms, deep in orc-infested badlands, lies the Shard Hollow, a half-buried ruin said to sit atop the bones of a forgotten age. That's the bourbon. For generations, it lay silent, but in recent moons, things have changed. Comet's tail blazed blood red across the sky. Omens tumbled in smoke and bone, and across the lands of men, elves, greenskins, and worse, strange dreams took hold. Visions of power buried in dust, relics lost to time, and the same whispered promise: change the world or be consumed by it. Now, as warbands converge on the ruin, it becomes clear Shard Hollow's call was no accident. It has drawn not just warriors, but entire histories and grudges. From the northern wastes and out of time march Queek Headtaker and Krokos, a Skaven warrior alliance stitched together by brutality. Their shared prophecy speaks of fire and ruin, of burning the old world until only echoes remain. Not far behind comes the stampede of the Comet's Fang. Ogre Tyrant Skug Bloodstrider and Warboss Borok Spine Ripper have seen the same comet as a sign from gods both great and green. They now thunder southward, a rolling storm of tusks and wheels and violence. Yet these are not the only strange alliances. In forests once thought unescapable and eternal, the Black Moon Riders stir, knights who were once men. Men who were once beasts, now neither, now both. Vengeance rides with them, and when more sleep hides its face, their horns and hooves herald death to all. Far to the east, a most unusual pact has been forged between the Australian army and the axes of Anarian beneath the blood gum tree. Bitter enemies, greenskins and elves, united against a rising darkness. Together as the Green Alliance, they ride not for glory or for gold, but for survival, seeking to seal away a forgotten serpent god before its corruption devours the land entirely. Not all alliances were born of prophecy, though. Some were born of debt. Sir Guillaume and his Bretonnian knights, once near death, drowning underneath waves of greenskins, was saved by the guns of Drentel's dwarves. And now, bound by oaths and unfinished accounts, they march together towards Shard Hollow, one eye on relics, the other on each other. Still, others are stranger yet. From the edges of the old world, a peasant skink alliance wanders, a commune as bizarre as it is determined. With blunderbusses in hand and ancient Saurus-trained skinks at their side, they've come as much to mock as to conquer, dragging their baby Stegodon and damsel Coco into danger once more. Whether by dark magic or sheer luck, they seem to survive. And through this, there stalk the primordial hunters, anachronistic orcs and lizard men from another time, spat into the present by a rent in reality itself. Knowing nothing of kingdoms or chaos, they hunt for one reason alone: for sport. To them, the Shard Hollow's mysteries are no prophecy, they are simply prey. waiting to be claimed. Finally, thundering between the foothills, there ride Zub and Angar's boys, orcs who somehow march in straight lines, and chaos warriors led by lies and ambition. Zub dreams of armor and status he'll never truly hold, and Angar dreams only of the next war. Together, they've answered the Shardhollow's call as they've answered every other, with blades drawn and no thought for tomorrow. All these forces stand at the edge of the ruins. The air hums with ancient power. Relics hidden beneath the stones don't care for alliances or debts. They care for strength, for cunning, and for fate. So the allies must pray they've chosen wisely and trust in each other. The race is on, and those who grasp the power first may yet change the course of all that follows. This is Shardhollow. So, a little bit of exposition, a little bit of a taste of what's to come. Again, the narrative submissions talking about the quality of those. It's been fabulous to get the story out of everything and have them all sort of being pointed towards this fabulous event that we've got coming up. So very quickly, I just wanted to talk to why this event is, again, a little bit different. Alex spoke to us being sort of semi-familiar with narrative-based events. For those of you who don't know my extracurricular activities, I've been a GM across a number of different games for the best part of sort of 15 years. So getting to put together story and story-based activity has been a passion for mine for a while. And extending that into the old world has been, as Alex said, a really interesting challenge to sort of see how we make it different and still engaging and interesting in an environment of wargaming, which is quite different to your standard narrative tabletop RPG or something along those lines. So I wanted to talk a little bit around why this event is maybe a little bit different to some of the other, again, matched play events or organized play events that have gone on. Obviously, it's doubles, and doubles is a different beast altogether. But with this, as we've talked about, as my whole preamble has led into, we are putting a really heavy narrative focus onto the event. So each round, the players are provided with a bit of a player briefing to set the scene for what their next game and what their next objectives are going to be. This will be sort of kind of like the preamble that you just heard, but obviously a little bit more specific to the environment and to the missions. At the end of each round, between rounds, we'll sort of do our magic in the background. We'll do our sort of construction and what we need to for the next. And then whatever the results were of your previous round, that's actually going to change the sort of preamble that you receive going into the next one. So no matter what happens, each mission is building on the results of the previous mission. And each team's experience is unique. They not only get to play different armies and different characters and sort of test their strength against each other, but they also have different outcomes for these battles, different things that will happen to them, to their armies, and ultimately to the story of the day as a whole, based on how they perform, based on the sorts of things that they're capable of doing over the course of the three battles. Whatever that looks like as well, whatever those three battles shape up as, that's going to tell the ending. We don't have a fixed ending. We don't have a really clear picture of who's going to walk away with the ultimate power of the Shardhollow. It's just, at this point, an open book to be written by the players. So it's really exciting to be able to have everyone involved. You know, we've got 20 people who are going to be telling this story collaboratively together. We ever so briefly mentioned, tabletop RPGs. I think the biggest game that I've hosted as a GM for an RPG was maybe 9 people, including myself. So this is
I
an exciting.
acutely. I remember
Yes,
acutely.
and it was
One
fabulous. It
action
was
per
just
hour.
yeah. I mean, that was that's the problem in everyone taking their turn. Fortunately for Warhammer: The Old World, you get to do it a lot faster. So the other thing I suppose to call out are just the points limits. It was 750 points per player. So it's 1,500 point games. They're going to be done and dusted pretty quickly, we're hoping. 4 brains at a table should mean that if there are sort of any issues or problems, they could get resolved pretty quickly. Excuse me. Other than that, yeah, it's going to be really heavily focused on how we tell the story and sort of how it shapes up. In support of that, we have 4 prize categories. There are 4 prize categories in this vein, just to make sure that again we are celebrating all the different aspects of the game. There is the best overall, the best theme, which speaks to the narrative submissions that a lot of players have had, and then there's other elements like painting, how the armies look, whether or not there are props or costumes involved on the day. We've invited those. So I'm interested to see who's going to take that up. But then also battle point outcomes will be one, because obviously this is a game about competitive play as much as it is everything else, and we want to celebrate that. And then best allies, best sports, best friends. Not to give too much away for what they'll be receiving at the end of the day. But that's why this event is going to be a little bit different to maybe many of the match play events that we've sort of seen so far, or certainly that we've been to. Anything to add, Alex?
Basically, thank you for the preamble. Yes, it's always important. And another, note to say, I don't think we could have run a narrative event without your past experience as a dungeon master, because being able to add this on the fly will be good. Excited again to see what technology can help us bring to the day and the outcome, and whatever happens, we don't know. That's the great thing about this, right? Is that the endings are variable. So we've got a very good group of players coming. A lot of them are known around the scene. I would love to see a specific pair turn up in costume. I think they know who they are. One of them owns a bar. And coming dressed as, Dumb and Dumber, or something along those lines. But, historically themed, of course.
Chaos and chaos.
To get those extra points. So, but again, it's up to you, right? Like, and we didn't touch on this, how teams want to go through and describe their narrative is entirely up to them, right? If writing is the strength, go with that. If turning up in costume and cosplay and acting out, then go for it, right? Please, no one shouting "wah."
Oh yeah, we
Dave.
covered that in a previous episode. We don't stand for that. Thank you.
Every charge that it comes up, but otherwise, yeah, I'm excited to see it. So, hopefully we can go through the missions and basically give a breakdown of it. But yes, prize support. It's definitely about giving variation. There's no first, second, third, as you pointed out. It's best outcome. Other thing to note: this will not be on Old World rankings.
Nope.
Have not even raised it with Gomo about how you would even rank a doubles event, but probably not the one to talk about rankings at as well. So this is definitely, perhaps at the next one, we can look at, I don't know, maybe there's a narrative ranking.
Maybe. I mean, look, maybe there's a universe in which competitive doubles exists. I'm very curious to see the brave TO who approaches that from a design standpoint. But I do feel, and you spoke to this a little bit before, I certainly feel that doubles is one of the most underrated ways to play Warhammer period, tabletop wargaming period. Doubles is so interesting, introducing conflicting priorities, introducing different ways of thinking, introducing strategic differences and different personalities at the table. Doubles for me has always been, I've gravitated towards those events. I've loved every one I've taken part in. I'm really hoping to share that with the guys that are coming along to our event in a couple of weeks' time, because I think it's if there's a space to play, if there's a space to try different things and to sort of exercise a little bit of liberty with how the rules can be applied, I do feel that doubles is the place to do it.
And we should say, we did all this pre-GW releasing the match play doubles
Yes, we did.
pack, and maybe through some sort of Nostradamus long line of lineage that you're related to. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they changed it at the last minute of the printer. I don't know. 3 weeks before we released it, they somehow changed all the alliance rules to do exactly what we had in our
Who
our
knows?
pack.
Who knows?
Not that it's probably just the most logical outcome.
Yeah, probably not.
But
it's absolutely not Occam's razor. It's definitely because I'm psychic and predict the future.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay, so let's have a couple of look at the missions. Forgive the formatting, copied stuff across stupid PowerPoint in Google, but this is probably a bit of a different view. If you viewed the player pack, you've seen the rules in depth for each mission. What you haven't seen is how we anticipate the deployment zones and the objectives being deployed. And we've sort of done that deliberately in the first instance to draw a bit of attention away from, when constructing lists, to draw a bit of attention away from a lot of the pre-planning and hyper competitiveness that we know is a little bit of a temptation when you do see a deployment map and you start thinking about how it's going to work. That said, we're using diagonal deployment. I think it's meeting engagement deployment. There are six relics to be found in the first round of the day.
And whilst you're doing that, we should also point out we're not releasing the lists. We're not releasing the lists.
We are not releasing
for general. Nope, because everyone is so has been requesting that. When are you guys releasing the list? When are you releasing the list? And we said we will be releasing the narrative as a feeder things, but you will not see each other's lists before you draw your first round opponents.
That's right. And look, the list construction, for anyone who's paid attention to it, the list construction requirements mean that there is very little opportunity for surprising or ambushing your opponent with rules. Not that any of the teams or the players that would come along to our event would do so, but we've sort of tried to be thoughtful and careful around it to make sure that this will work. To go in blind, you'll understand. I mean, I've given you the preamble. You'll know now who the factions are, who the teams might be, but we're not going to be sharing lists. We think it's much more thematic to be going into a narrative game, seeing your opponents and their formations, seeing their units, but not necessarily having a really good idea of exactly what's going on. So that said, we've tried to keep the rules pretty simple. 6 objectives. The winner of this particular round is whomever holds the most objectives at the end of the game. But there is a little bit of a secondary effect that occurs. There is a secondary objective as well, which I'm not going to talk to. It's in the player's pack. But there's a secondary effect for these relics. Channeling a little bit of 40k here in terms of unknown relics or revealing the relics. When a unit moves within 3 inches of a relic for the first time, they're going to need to roll a d6 and consult a table. It will either hurt them, it will even give them a significant bonus to combat resolution for the remainder of the game, or it will do absolutely nothing. And ultimately, the players here are fighting for the fragments of power, which will then lead us into the next round mission, Alex. So here we have Bonds of Blood. And what we wanted to represent through this mission is that one army has forged ahead, has either spotted an enemy in the midst of a ritual or begun a ritual to combine the fragments of power that they've seized for themselves. And now they must hold their ground. There is one half of each army on the board. So one player is the deployed player from each team, and they will deploy as standard alternating deployment. But the entire army of each of the second players on each team then sets up to be deployed as reinforcements from round 2 onwards. There's, again, a little bit of a special flavor here. The defender, because we will assign attacking and defending roles based on your results after the first round. But the defender who's assigned, one unit from that team's army, it doesn't matter whether it's the deployed or reinforcing player, can be nominated as their heroic last stand unit. And if that is alive at the end of the game and within 6 inches of the central objective, there are extra battle points up for grabs. However, the attackers have a slightly different approach. The reinforcing attacker, the player who's going to come on from round 2 onwards, if they're able to seize control of the objective in the center when it's controlled by an enemy unit, so any enemy unit, they will win additional points, as we're sort of simulating pushing your opponent off, interrupting a ritual, forcing back and forth. The ultimate winner is whomever controls that central objective. Again, at the end of the game, we've tried to keep it relatively simple from that respect. And a few more sort of rules. It's an impassable piece of terrain. We've got some really interesting pieces of terrain to be deploying for those as well. No spoilers. But from there, ritual complete or ritual failed will take us into round 3. Round 3, ashes and crowns. This is it. This is the ultimate showdown. And for the ultimate showdown, given the release of the match playbook, we've changed things ever so slightly. So players, if you're seeing this for the first time, you will be getting a little bit of a notification tomorrow from us letting you know that this has happened as well before the release of this video. But
nothing major. It's nothing too major. It's nothing too major.
Nothing major. The only difference is that we're just aligning with match play rules for progressive scoring. So rather than scoring at the end of each battle round, which is what we'd initially anticipated and offered for this particular game type, we're aligning with the matched play you score at the end of each player turn, or in this case, each team turn. So it will introduce a little bit more of the call it the competitive element back into these games, maybe inspire a little bit of thoughtfulness in the players around how they want to tactically apply themselves. But we wanted, again, to give everyone the opportunity to sort of stretch all the different parts of their play style to be able to win this ultimate mission. It is progressive scoring, as I pointed out before. The banners on the sides and the central objective award different points totals. But we've got a fabulous little scoring sheet, which is going to make keeping track of that and tallying that really easy for the end of the game. But I'm not spoiling that today. But the other little theme element for our round 3 Ashes and Crowns is this For the Fate of All special rule. And this was one that we were sort of really interested in seeing how people adapted their lists and their armies to. Each player, at any point through the game, when they're issuing a challenge with a character in a combat with another character, they can issue a special Duel of Destiny challenge. This is a challenge that, if it is refused by the nominated character, they will, instead of just issuing a challenge and having anyone pick it up, they will issue the challenge and say, I want to issue the challenge from this character to that character. If it's turned down, if a character hides away or removes themselves from combat in order to avoid the challenge, the challenger, the person who's declared the challenge, will win some victory points. If the challenge goes ahead and both players accept and they fight it out and fight the Duel of Destiny, whomever the winner is will be awarded an additional 150 victory points. So it's a potential, if one team can win all 4 Duels of Destiny, which will be pretty hard given that they're only able to declare 2. But if one team wins all 4, that's 600 victory points. which is pretty substantial. So it's going to be really interesting. But we wanted to set this moment up for the final game to say, if you're willing to risk it all, if you're willing to really put your army on the line and throw yourself into the narrative and throw yourself at this big clashing of armies, then you're going to get a reward. Which I'm really, really excited to see how it pans out.
I think with this one, it's going to happen naturally. You got 750 points. You don't have a massive army, so you're going to look across the field and go, "There's 100. My enemy opponent's big unit is 300 points. Their general is 100 points, circa whatever. So if I kill that unit and the general in a duel, I'm getting 300, 400, 150, 550. So including that, plus the slain general and all these other things, that is entirely what this is about. So thanks to Josh, which we'll call out, who has been driving this narrative of, I want to chase down your general and beat him. Unfortunately, he's been running the Dwarf King, which is A, unkillable, and will smack you back on that. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the Dwarf King here. He is, in fact, perhaps playing something a bit more chaotic.
Real smooth, Alex. Real smooth. Yeah, so I suppose the other thing just to point out about this one, this is the only one of the 3 rounds worth of missions that actually tracks victory points. All the others, we don't care. It's objective based. It's objective based play. This one specifically will be tracking victory points. Again, just as a little bit of difference. Now, the other thing that I haven't shared with you tonight, and it's indicated in the players pack, and we have the scoring sheets to support it. But the other thing that we're providing there are teamwork points, there are story points, and there are sports points that get awarded in every single round. Now, the teamwork points and story points are set around specific events that might happen, and they might happen by accident, and they might happen by design, but they are designed, again, to reward your sort of narrative-based let's play Warhammer attitude. So for the players on the day, there is a little bit of sort of scorekeeping tracking that they'll do throughout the day. But again, 4 brains at one table should mean that shouldn't be missed. But it's I'm really interested to see how players respond to that as well, given that they're not VP tracking, given that they're looking for really simplified objectives for the first 2 rounds. And then we get to the 3rd round where things can really, really get interesting really, really quickly.
Yeah, I suppose the overall thought on that is when you come into the event, and by the way, all of this was actually in the players pack. Just some of these changes to progressive scoring in this 3rd mission is a step between the old, let's call it season 1 of Old World, and we just happen to be running our event in, call it season 2. 1 step in, 1 step out. Bit of a segue is you can't just turn up on the day and go, I just want to win all the games, because we're not using the 20-0 system. It's literally, if you win, you get 10. If you draw, you get 5. And if you lose, you get 0. So there's no game in the system, but these narrative points and the thematic moments can add up quite significantly. So if you want to be winning, you need to be winning in a thematic way in order to secure that, let's call it, the best overall trophy.
Definitely. And part of the reason, I mean, for the eagle eyes out there, you would have seen all of the different map sizes. We are playing on Age of Sigmar mats, and we've done that specifically because at no point in the rulebook or supporting documentation has Games Workshop outlined what a table looks like for the old world games. They've given broad suggestions that maybe you should play on 6x4, but for smaller game modes like 1500 points, Age of Sigmar seems to be on the money in terms of how games can be presented and what they should look like. In terms of I've entirely lost my train of thought. But in terms of ultimate winners, as we pointed out with the prize categories, as Alex has said, if you're coming to, we've tried to design the different missions, the different score types, with the thought in mind that if you come with the idea of steamrolling every opponent that you play against, and thankfully no one has sort of built a list that feels like it's going to do that, or feel like that it's intended to do that, but you can't just sort of come along expecting just to trample on your opponents, win every game, and walk out with the best possible prize, because that's ultimately not how it will work. We want players to be telling stories. We want players to be sharing those moments that make them cheer or make them groan. We want them to be sort of getting into the fact that their special character that they've thought about and given a name is capable of doing interesting and weird things and has stuff happen to them. And, miscast becomes so much more meaningful when your 2-wound sorceress is named and is supposed to be leading your army, and there's consequences if she dies. So it's
blows up.
Yeah.
A large template, just
Yeah, definitely. It's I'm really excited for the event. It's going to be really interesting to see how people engage. I hope from what you've seen this evening, you're interested and you'll follow along as we sort of get a little bit more set up for the journey over the next couple of weeks. I will, because it's always nice to get people in late, say that there are still opportunities for additional players. That said, you're going to have to move extremely quickly, because we will be locking things down a little bit over a week away from the event. But there's still the opportunity to come and be part of it. You can still go and review the players pack everywhere we've posted it. It'll be in the description and show notes of this as well. We have the capacity to take up to, I think, 6 more teams. So by all means, 6 more teams? Yeah, 6 more. 6 more teams?
Yes.
8 more teams?
No,
I don't remember.
6 is a stretch.
6.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
6.
Yeah.
6. Yeah, okay. We have the potential for 6 more teams. So there's the opportunity to be involved if you've been umming and ahhing or haven't quite found a partner. Let us know. We do know of 1 or 2 people who might come along as well if the right partner popped up. But I will wrap it up, because I promised it would be a shorter session, and we've been going for just under an hour. So thank you, Alex. Thank you for coming, sharing your thoughts, and listening to me ramble about this wonderful event that we're both so passionate about. Thank you to our viewers. If you've stuck around this long, we do appreciate you. Again, if you'd like to become a patron, you can find that link within the show notes and description. Otherwise, Alex, any final thoughts? Anything you want to share before we finish up?
Any questions, please send them in, because we'll probably do another episode between now and then, basically going over any FAQ, let's call it that, around doubles. We've already had a few come in. We've had questions like, can I auto-dispel my allies? Vortexes are rolling around the board, thinking, oh, surely that won't happen. But who knows? Who knows? Someone might want to be that guy. I want to do that. Short answer is no, you can't.
One of the interesting things we've had to consider with suspicious allies is whether or not you can make a dispel attempt against your own allies' templates. So yeah, I mean,
keep sending
there's
them
lots there. Yeah, by all means, there's lots of really interesting and quirky things that need to be thought about for doubles, particularly with the ally structure that the game has in place that we're using for our doubles in particular. All right, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you to our viewers again. Stay tuned, I should say. There'll be more to come around the event. If you're one of our fabulous players, you'll have received a little bit more detail, and you'll be receiving even more up to the event. Like Alex said, we'll probably do another one on this, looking at some of the interesting things that we're learning about doubles as we go, including the FAQs, and then we'll absolutely do a recap following the event as well. But as always, thank you so much. We very much appreciate you, and we will catch you at the next one.
See ya.